Okay, so here's what you do when you are trying to figure out what will you see? What light will you see when you have white light shining on a mixture of green and red pigments? And I say mixture, that means they're together in a mixture combination. So, first thing you're going to do is that you are going to label the top with the type of light that is being shined on to the pigment. So the top is the type of light, okay? So right now it says white light. So white light is a combination of what three primary colors? Yes. Nice. Red, green, and blue. And I'm going to do, just for consistency, I'm always going to do my R first, my G first, and my B first. Y'all don't have to. I'm just doing it that way for consistency. Okay. And then on this side, you're going to label what kind of pigments you have. So here I have green, and here I have red. So the whole point is when I have this combination of pigments and I shine a white light, what am I going to see when I shine this light? Okay, so the way you do this now is that you're going to say, okay, well, I know that my green pigment, if I have red, green, and blue, my green pigment is reflecting what? Green. So what's it absorbing? Red and blue. So I'm going to kind of fill in the boxes of what is being absorbed. If that's being absorbed, I know green is being reflected out.
And so we would color in blue, color in blue and green for the next one?
So for now we have red. And our red pigment, we know what is being reflected.
Red.
So what's being absorbed?
Green and blue.
Green and blue. So you're going to look through your columns. Which one of these has something reflecting or not being absorbed? That means red's being absorbed. That means your green's being absorbed. And that means your blue's being absorbed. So all three of these are absorbed because of the combination here. So what are you going to see? Black. Nicely done, squad. Okay, let's try another example. And then I'll entertain some questions. Okay, example number 2. We have white light. So once again, what am I going to put at the top?
R, green, blue.
R, G, B. Ooh, now I have a mixture of magenta and yellow. I'm going to have magenta and yellow. So, let's think about this. If you are seeing magenta, what is being reflected?
Red.
Yes, red and blue. So what is being absorbed?
Green.
Green. If you're seeing yellow, what is being reflected?
Red.
Red and green. So what's being absorbed? Blue. Do y'all notice how this is going to require that you remember what are the combinations that produce which secondary light color?
Yes.
Okay, so you got to kind of keep that handy. Maybe keep your color wheel close by until you get the hang of it. Okay, so now I've got my two pigments mixed together, and I've got my white light shining on it. So what should I see? Nice. And look down here. I should see red light. Any questions so far before I proceed to the next example? Okay. So, Sam, ask your question again.
So if there's no blocks colored in, that means that's the truth.
That is what's being reflected. If there's no, and what would happen if you had two that were reflected?
It would be the color that's mixed together.
Exactly. It would be the combination of those two lights being reflected.
Okay.
So if you had red and green that were blank right here, that means they're both being reflected.
It would be yellow.
Then yes, it would be yellow. And then even if one out of two is absorbed, it's like that pigment is still going to suck in and absorb that green.
Okay.
So even though you're probably thinking, well, but magenta absorbs, but yellow doesn't. It doesn't matter. The magenta is going to take the green, regardless that the yellow is there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. To your question? Did I answer you? Maybe 1 minute. Okay. Example 3. What is seen when white light shines through a combination? Oh, poop. Delete. What is seen when white light shines through a combination of cyan and yellow filters?
So it's RGB.
Uh-huh.
How do you make a cyan?
How do you make cyan? That's like that turquoisey color because of green and blue. Exactly. How do you make yellow?
Red and green.
Red and green. Exactly. So anyway, so if you're seeing cyan, what is being reflected? So what's absorbed?
Red.
If you're seeing yellow, what's being reflected?
Red and green.
What's absorbed?
Blue. So we see green.
Yay! So you see green. Aren't these fun?
Are these to be on the test?
I like these.
So
Okay.
if the like kind of green shade is even if the green
Okay, for this last example, what should stand out to you? Am I using white light? I'm only using red light. That means that if you want to keep your RGB just out of habit, that's fine. But really here, we are not even going to be talking about these types of light. You're going to have only red light shining on magenta. So we're going to keep those there just for practice sake. And we know that magenta, if you see magenta, what two colors of light are you seeing? You're seeing red and blue. So what is absorbed? Because do I have any green light shining on this? Do I have any blue light shining on this? No, because the problem over here said that I only have red light. So honestly, that doesn't count because I only have red. And we learned yesterday when we were doing our notes that this is basically going to filter out any other color anyway. So we have red. Well, you have to know what colors make up magenta still. So it's better for you to go ahead and set this up this way so that you can remember just for practice and for keeping it in consistent technique so that you can come up with your answer. Now, if you already knew off the top of your head, wait, I know magenta is going to reflect, it's only red, so it's got to be it, boom, fine. But I would set it up this way regardless just to keep your consistency. Okay, now I'd like for y'all to go ahead and flip over.
Is it red?
Oh, sorry. Indeed. Red it is. So the question was, how did I know back up here on number 1 that my color that we were going to see was black? And that's because with white light, that's a combination of red, green, and blue. And I know that if I have a little mixture of green and red pigment, that my green light, if I'm seeing green light, it's absorbing red and blue and reflecting green. So that's why that's an open box. If I'm seeing red, it's reflecting red. That's why that's the open box. But if I'm shining my light, remember these are mixed together. So it's not like you're going to have like a little separation. Okay, this part's going to be black because this is the part where the green is, and this part's going to be green because that's what the green mixture. When you have a pigment, it's in combination with each other, and so it's going to ultimately appear black because the portions of green are absorbing these two and the portions of red is absorbing these two. That's not leaving anything to be reflected. It has to be a completely empty column for that light to be able to pass through. I say pass through, it's really just being reflected. Let's try it on our own. So when you flip over, try number 1. White light, ooh, blue light, white light, green light, blue light, yellow light. Right, I'm going to pause for a moment while you work through some of these problems by yourself. Okay, remember, if you're absent and you're watching this for the first time, it's important that you are trying these practice problems by yourself first before looking at this key. You're only doing yourself a disservice if you're simply copying what I'm doing, because then you don't really know if you know how to do it or understand it. Okay, so for number 1, it is saying white light with a mixture of magenta and red pigments. So if you have magenta, that means what is being reflected are your red and green, red and blue. So green is being absorbed. And if you have red, green and blue are being absorbed. So would y'all agree with me that the light you see is red?
Yes.
Okay, for this tile, you have a magenta filter and you have blue light, RGB. And we know we're not using, if it's blue light, you're not using red light or green light. Red light, green light. Okay, you're using blue light. So what magenta is reflecting what two colors?
Red and blue.
Red and blue. So what is my only choice? Magenta is reflecting red and blue. It absorbs green. So if I wanted to, I could do that. But yeah, we are not even looking at red and green light though, are we? We're just looking at blue. So what color should this be? Blue. Okay, white light. So red, green, blue. Mixture of cyan and green. Ooh, so they're a little combo. So we have cyan and we have green, which means that with cyan, what's being reflected? Pretty ocean. So absorbed is red. And green, what's being absorbed? Everything but green. So what color do you see? Green light. So we're going to have blue and yellow pigments, and red, green, blue, but really we're not going to be doing those two. And we have blue and yellow pigments. Blue, that means if you are seeing blue, you are actually absorbing these. If you're seeing yellow, what's being reflected? Red and green. Uh-oh. If those are being reflected and blue is being absorbed, can any light get through?
No, so it's black.
No, so this is black. Yeah, that was number 4. It's a little tilted. So when blue light shines on yellow pigment, so just one color here, red, green, blue, and I know I'm not going to need those two. So yellow, that means what is being reflected? Red and green. Remember, that's our chartreuse. And that means blue is being absorbed, but it's only blue light. So what does that mean? Once again, we have black. Yay. Okay, the last one. Ooh. Tricky. Yellow light. Oh, goodness gracious. We have a secondary light color. Ah, what do we do? So it's shining on yellow light. So when we talk about red, green, blue, yellow light's a combo of what two colors? Red and green. So no blue light, but both of these lights are going to be shining. And my colors are green and cyan. So if I'm seeing green, I'm absorbing everything else. So I'm reflecting green. If you're seeing cyan, your combo of green and blue, what are you absorbing? So what color passes? Green. Yay! Any questions? Nicely done.